Hey guys, welcome back to T-Dubs. This is the show where we talk about things we watch, and for the next 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about the FIBA World Cup, which is here in our hometown, in our home city of Manila. So I talked a bit about that in the first show. Today, day two, we're going to jump right into the games. Now, the first game I want to talk about is Slovenia versus Venezuela. This was the coming out party for Luka Doncic, and what a party. I may have misspoke yesterday. Actually, I completely misspoke. I think I forgot. I don't know how I did, but I forgot that Luka Doncic was in the FIBA World Cup tournament playing for Slovenia, and that was just a mess up on my part. He is clearly the best player in the competition. I said that it was probably SGA. I was wrong. It's definitely Luka. I just forgot that he was in the competition. I don't know how, but 37 points in 31 minutes versus Venezuela's top scorer scored 16 points. That was Soho or Sojo. I'm not sure. And Luka even had 2 steals in the game. If you watch the game, they were really throwing everything at Luka. They were playing that high pick and roll, multiple switch for Luka, and you could really see the defenders coming up, just completely willing to go over on both sides of that screen and double team Luka no matter what and force the ball out of his hands. You're expecting some 3-point shooting to come from Dragic, from Goran Dragic in that situation. It did not come. Dragic ended up finishing the game with only 2 points, despite being part of the starting five and clearly the shooting guard on that team. Instead, the second best scorer was a man by the name of Mike Toby. He's a Euroball player, and he scored 21 points, but mostly that came from floor spacing of the Venezuelan team just trying to throw the kitchen sink at Luka, trying to get him to give up the ball. And every time he did, he gave it to an open man. They picked probably the least threat in the team would be this center, Mike Toby. And Toby just took shot after shot as a result. Now, one of the highlights of the games was at the half. The Venezuelan team were actually close. They were only down by 4 points. And with maybe 3 seconds left on the shot clock, they inbound the ball. And a player by the name of Joman Zamora hauls a fantastic past half court. You know the little logos on the side of the court? It was near those logos on the other side of half court. So it was basically a full court shot. Nothing but net, 3-point shot. They go into the half down by only one, and the camera cuts away and goes to Luka Doncic, and you see Luka just pissed off, like, what? Why did you not guard this dude? And I'm sure they went in the locker room, and Luka, very famous for not having a good temper, probably let his brothers have it in Slovenian, right? They can do that. I wouldn't be surprised if Luka was swearing in Slovenian on the floor during that whole time. Something that Luka very famously does. Now, this opening game was a coming out party for Luka Doncic versus Venezuela. It was expected that this game would be the pivotal game, whether or not Venezuela could upset Slovenia in the opener in this group. So now that Slovenia has taken that win, it it's kind of obvious that Slovenia is gonna sweep their group. Now, any other result will be an upset from here on out. I don't think Georgia or Cape Verde have a team that can, they don't have the defense to beat Luka Doncic, and at least nothing from what we've seen so far. So that will be interesting to see throughout this game. Now, Luka, you should watch the highlights if you don't have time to watch the whole game. We streamed the game on Courtside 1891, which is a terrible streaming app, but they are the official one of FIBA. So we paid the $24 to watch all of the pre-FIBA games, all of the pre-World Cup games, the warm-up ones, and then now all of FIBA World Cup. And I think that deal also includes all of the pre-Olympic games, but not all of the other little FIBA games that happen throughout the year. Not a bad deal, except that it's a bad app. And during both that game, this game, and the next game we're going to talk about, which is Team USA versus New Zealand, the app was cutting out and the stream was just going dead all of the time, both in the browser and on my Android device. So kind of terrible. At least they had box score on the computer. They didn't have box score on the app, but they had it on the computer. So now we have that. And so that gives us a little bit more of a statistical basis for us to work with. Now, the big question really will be, does Slovenia have enough when they get out of the group stage, right? Even with Luka, who else is on that team? I mean, you have Mike Toby, who is an excellent player, but he's not a star. He's not an NBA level player for sure. If he was, he'd be in the NBA. The NBA loves big European dudes, and he's one of them. Also on that team, you have Goran Dragic, who is, I think, a really good player, really good spot up shooter, pull up shooter as well. So I was expecting more from him, but in this game, he had only 2 points, and he's really not the defensive force when you really think about it. It will be interesting to see. This group gets a little bit more boring after this game, after this win, I think so. It's going to be a lot of fun for the people in Japan to watch Luka run all over everyone. But other than that, this group kind of gets a little bit more quiet, and it'll come down to elimination stages to see how far this team will go. Now, they do have a little bit more of a challenging schedule, being in the Okinawa leg and then having to move to Manila at some point. The group stage is pretty much, if you ask me, pretty much over for Slovenia. They have it in the bag. All right. Game number 2 that we watched today was USA versus New Zealand. Now, super interesting. Team USA, I think, has the best coaching lineup with Coach Steve Kerr and Coach Eric Spoelstra, and they are the best coaches in the world right now, playing, coaching basketball right now. And then you have Ty Lue in there as well, and another guy, I forget his name. He's a college coach, but these are the 4 guys in USAB who assembled this team. You have Grant Hill also on the team for USA Basketball. But as far as the head coaches go, those are the 3 guys, right? And as a result, we saw a lot of adjustment and a lot of experimentation in this game. In the beginning, New Zealand jumped out in front, 14-4 lead, but that quickly evaporated by the end of the first quarter. I don't think anyone was expecting for that to really hold. Spark off the bench from Austin Reeves, who is a star, and we'll talk about that more in a second. But the big story really was Paolo Banchero. And with Paolo Banchero at the 5, the U.S. plays with this 5-out setup, with this 5-out strategy. And, this is very unusual in FIBA basketball because there is no defensive 3 seconds in FIBA. So usually the center is a lot more crowded than in the NBA. So by playing this, it really mucks with the way that all the other teams are used to playing. And Paolo Banchero is already the big story of FIBA, if you ask me. Luka Doncic, best player, but it's expected. Paolo Banchero, this is a coming out party for him. I wonder if some of the stars had chosen to show up at FIBA, if the Jason Tatums and KDs of the world had decided to play for Team USA, would they still have taken Paolo as a backup big, as a backup center? This would have been really interesting for me to see. But that also begs the question, if those guys were in the tournament, if you had Jason Tatum here, if you had Trae Young here, wouldn't most of the scoring go to those guys? So that would have been an interesting thing to see as well. But other than that, I'm really happy to see Paolo really come into his own. This is going to be a crazy year for him if they win the trophy. He would have been first one picked, rookie of the year, and then win the World Cup in a single year. That would be nuts. Now, and I think that's 1 calendar year. No, it's not a calendar year. A little bit more than a year. All right. Now, another thing we saw on the coaching side was that there were a ton of different lineups that the USA chose to run. And I don't know if they were just like testing stuff out, if they were trying stuff out, or if they wanted to keep all the other teams guessing. And that's one of the cool things about this Banchero at 5 lineup is that, if you try to do this in the NBA, you basically have to play 100 games for the 82 games of the regular season, and then you got to win another 16 games to win the NBA championship, to win the cup. But in FIBA, you basically play every team a maximum of, I think, 3 times. You play everyone once in your group, and then I think two of you in the group move into the next stage, and there's a chance that you might run up against each other again, but even that is slim. So the maximum number of times you're playing another team is probably two. I think two, unless you make it to the finals or you make it to semifinals. So, with that said, if the USA keeps on changing up their system in every game, there's no way that teams are going to be able to make the adjustments in time. And that is the genius that Steve Kerr and Spoelstra have brought to this USA lineup, to the way that they're running the offense. Again, if you add 100 games, maybe opponents would be able to adjust. But in this short tournament, all you got to do is win straight for 2 weeks. And I think the USA can do it. Now, it'll be interesting to see again if Slovenia has enough to challenge. But right now, it looks like Slovenia has a really strong chance, having the best player in the tournament. The most distributed team is probably Team USA, in that they have the best coaches. But this rout of Team France by Team Canada, I think that makes for a really, really exciting tournament. I think a lot of people had Canada as the dark horse, as the kind of the dark horse favorites. It was 1-2 US and Canada. Another thing I want to touch on, I think, is the third top scorer. Anthony Edwards was the second top scorer, and the third top scorer was one Austin Reeves, who played amazing defense, amazing hustle ball. It was pretty amazing. Speaking of hustle ball, shout out to New Zealand's Ili. That guy was amazing. He was not the top scorer. Delaney and another guy scored more points. Those guys were awesome too. But Ili, that dude had tons of hustle. He was. I usually did. He didn't play like Marcus Smart, but he played in a way that I usually describe Marcus Smart, which is that he's a chaos factor, right? The chaos factor in important moments that can decide a game. Now, this game did not come down to a clutch moment where a player like Ili could have decided the game, but in future games in this group, wait for that. Specifically in the Greece versus New Zealand game, that will be interesting to see, and this will be a guide to watch. With the USA winning this game and Greece also winning their game this morning or this afternoon, just before the USA, that puts them both at a tie for the top spot in the group. And it'll matter in seeding, and it'll matter in terms of points, because the USA winning this game by quite a lot. What did they score? It was 99-72. So they blew them out. And that point differential is going to become a tiebreaker in the event of a tie if the USA loses a game. Now, they probably won't. That's just the reality, is that in the group stage, the U.S. will probably dominate. However, right now, tied at the top with Greece. On Monday, they play Greece, and we get to go and watch that one live. So hopefully I'll have some strength and some voice after shouting and having fun at that game. That'll be a lot of fun. Now, another shout out is Austin Reeves. Came off the bench. He's basically the point guard, the backup point guard for Team USA. And when he came off the bench, actually, no, when he walked in the stadium, people screamed. Like, crowd went wild. The Philippines loves Austin Reeves because they love the Lakers. And he lived up that billing. Watching him play was, he certainly played like he felt like he was the star. And for the night, he was. And maybe for the tournament, the fact that he's in Manila, he is. And he scored really well. He assisted on a lot of plays, played a lot of hustle defense. And that was super interesting to see how he fed off the crowd, right? How he fed off the energy that the crowd was giving him, that they wanted to see him play and see him succeed. And I thought that was really awesome and great to see. Tomorrow is Manila Sneaker Expo, and Austin Reeves has actually agreed to be a guest at that event. So I guess this video will probably come out in the morning. So it's today. If you have time, you want to meet or see Austin Reeves, you can go over to Manila Sneaker Expo today and go see him. Sean Wotherspoon is there also. And I expect between those two guys and the expo in general, it's going to be a bit of a riot. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, the expo is right next to SM Arena, and right next to Mall of Asia Arena. they have the SMX Expo Center. So that's going to be a lot of people, a lot of traffic here in the Pasay area. So other than the riot in the traffic, it's going to be a riot inside the expo to see those two guys. Super interesting to me that Austin Reeves has agreed to do this Manila Sneaker Expo. I mean, it's cool that he's here and he agreed to do it, but it's super interesting that one, he wants to do it in the middle of the tournament when we see a lot of other athletes kind of saying no to promotional gigs during this window. That said, Austin Reeves is signed with a much smaller Chinese brand. I don't even know if you can buy those Rigorverse sneakers here. I don't know if you want to. They're really ugly. But I guess if you are an Austin Reeves fan and you are a Lakers fan, maybe you don't care. And you want to buy those sneakers and you want to go see him. If you do, you can join in the riot. I'm sure people are gonna have a lot of fun at Manila Sneaker Expo. I, for one, I'm gonna rest. I'm not gonna go to that. But mostly because, as you can hear, my voice is still sore from all the shouting at the Gilas game yesterday. And we're probably gonna have a lot of fun on Monday, Greece versus USA. So do tune in for that video. If you are enjoying these videos, do like and subscribe. We do a lot of sneaker content as well. And you can back read through some of our videos if you do like those. And we also do a lot of coffee videos. So we do a lot of things here in Honeycomb. If you're curious what we do here, this is a co-working space and this is our studio. If you want to put on a podcast like this, it doesn't cost anything. You just come in at 75 pesos per hour. You got to get a day pass and you do have to be on your second day pass if you want to be recording podcasts like this. But once you are, it doesn't cost anything more than your cups of coffee, basically 75 pesos an hour. Oh, and then I mentioned the coffee is included as well. So if you want espresso and pour over coffees, they come at the same cost if you want to record your own video. And if you do want to join me here and talk about FIBA, I am welcoming friends to come and talk. This is going to be really sad if I get to the end of this series at the end of 2 weeks and nobody talks about FIBA World Cup with me, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So if you are enjoying the World Cup, let me know your favorite team. Post the flag in the comments down below. I want to know your thoughts. And what else can you do? You can also follow me on Instagram. I am at KO Kosha on Instagram. I reply to all of my DMs. I wish you guys good luck, good health, some great basketball. Go Philippines. Peace.